bed associated with the glomerulus. There are two other capillary beds in the kidney. This is a place where we go artery, capillary, vein. Okay. So normally we go artery, capillary, vein, but here we go artery, capillary, vein. And the first capillary bed is the glomerulus, where we go artery, capillary, artery. And then there are two other capillary beds that surround the nephron. The capillary bed that surrounds the convoluted tubule is called peritubular, right? Peri just means going around. So these are capillaries that go around the tubule. And then there's this thing called the vasa recta, which goes around the lumen pendula. Now, why is it important to have these second capillary beds? Is to allow for exchange. So we can exchange between blood and the filtrator, what's inside the convoluted tubules. With this capillary bed, we can exchange between what's inside the nephron and blood with this capillary bed. So again, capillaries do absorption, right? Filtration and absorption. So that's where exchange takes place. So if you want to do exchange, you have to have those capillary beds. That's just showing, again, the nephron. Afferent arteriole, glomerulus, efferent arteriole. Just like at any capillary bed, filtrate is going to be produced here. Now this one's different because if you'll notice, because of the structure of it, there's no reabsorption back into it, right? Because if we go artery, capillary, artery, pressure can stay high in here, right? So blood pressure doesn't drop through this capillary bed like it did through the other capillary beds we talked about. It stays constant and high. That's why you have artery, capillary, arteries to keep it high. So we're always making filtrate. Filtrate runs through the convoluted tubule, down the descending limb, up the ascending limb, through the distal convoluted tubule. By the time we get right here, it's urine. Okay, so we start with filtrate here. By the time we get right here, we have urine. So what has the nephron done? It's modified the volume and the composition of the filtrate. And by doing so, we regulate extracellular fluid volume and composition. You guys know there's a rich blood supply to the kidney. That's okay. That's good. All right, so here we've taken and just drawn a schematic to show the processes that are important. Okay. The processes that are important here are, number one, filtration. So you need to be able to take the components of blood and push it out of the capillary bed. And that's called filtration. And in fact, I tend to call it ultrafiltration because unlike every other filtration, this occurs at a really high pressure relative to every other capillary bed in the body. So ultrafiltration occurs, and what we produce here is something called filtrate, okay? Or ultrafiltrate. And that's, where did this come from? That came from blood plasma. Right? So filtrate actually is just like blood plasma, except for things that can't fit through the filtration slits. So what can't fit through? Cells can't fit through. So the filtrate won't contain any cells, so no red blood cells, no white blood cells. Large proteins like albumins and immunoglobulins, actually those are most of the only proteins in blood really. So albumins and globulin proteins, they're too big to go through too. But what can go through? Well, water, obviously, a lot of water, and other stuff that's dissolved in water. Nutrients, ions, you name it, whatever's dissolved in there that can fit through, it's pushed out in the filtrate. Now, to give you an idea about how much filtrate is produced, of all the blood that comes in the afferent arteriole, from just looking at volume, about 20% of it becomes filtrate, and about 80% of it is returned back to the efferent arteriole. Okay. So as we push through this glomerular capillary bed, we make a lot of filtrate. Now, in anatomy, did I ever give you any numbers? I can't remember. And if I did, would you remember?
Nope.
No. So shall we mention a couple?
Mm-hmm.
This filtrate that's produced here, and we'll probably comment on this again in a minute, but I just want to give you I like some gee whiz kind of things here. This filtrate that is produced, you make about 125 milliliters of it per minute. Do you think that's very much?
Kind of.
Yeah, I guess.
It's a human body.
How much is it in an hour?
Whoa.
Can anybody do math? How much is it in, anybody know how much it is in an hour?
Multiply by 60.
Multiplied by 60. How much? 725, is that right? 750? 7,000? 7,500? I don't know.
125 плюс 125, 250 и
Anybody do
250.
math?
6500.
So what do we got to multiply this by? 60. Why is this hard for you people? You're smarter than me. What's 6 times 125? 750, right? Add a 0 to it, so 7,500. Yeah. So about 7,500. 7,500 what? 7,500. You guys love math, don't you? 7,500 milliliters per hour. How much is that in a day?
Mamma mia.
Well, you got to multiply that by.
24. Ёлки-палки.
180,000 milliliters per day. Is that about right?
And now converted into liters.
Now converted into liters. 180 liters per day.
Oh my god.
That's what I'm saying. That's a. I think I pee a lot, but what's the app? If we're starting with 100.